Hey, hola, boa noite. Carl Munson here from Good Morning Portugal, Expats Portugal, and we're here with Head Gardener Lee McGrady and the Fresh Air team, encouraging you to get out and grow. Not just now, though, because we're going to be here for the next 45 minutes. Don't go out just yet. We're here for the next 45 minutes. It has been a beautiful day here in Portugal. I hesitate to say that because Head Gardener McGrady has been in confinement in his own home. But I think you're tested again tomorrow, Lee, and hopefully you'll have a clean bill of health and be back out bouncing around the garden like I was today, yeah?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. We'll cross everything for you because it must be impossible for a man like you who spends most of his life outdoors, laughing at me when I said I was up a tree about 10 feet. You go up to big ones. You go up like 50, 60 feet, I expect.
I've planted some big trees, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. All right, well, fingers crossed for tomorrow. Also here, John and Anna from Devon. How are you guys this evening?
Yeah, doing all right. Just managed to save the internet, so a little bit later than originally planned. But yeah, finally here, and just got the rest of the gadgets to sort out now. But yeah, hoping to take a breath of fresh air, I think, and getting gardening zone. So yeah, and getting used to the cold weather as well.
I love that you saved the internet, and you're like a superhero working behind the scenes. The rest of us have just been carrying on reading our emails, and Anna's been working hard behind the scenes. Everybody, so we owe you a drink when we meet up, Anna. John, how are you?
Yeah. Try just all right. Not too bad, I suppose. Yeah, not too bad.
All right, mate.
Just trying to muddle through in this very weird time that we're living through.
So true. Yeah, and if anybody wants to get anything off their chest in that regard, at the moment, if you've been locked up and locked in like Lee, and John's feeling it, as we can hear there, let us know in the comments how you're feeling, how you're doing. Lee, I think he's got an order. He's got an order coming. He's got to take the business. Absolutely. So, John and Anna, have you managed to get out in the garden this last week? That big question.
Me not so far yet, but I've had a couple of pointers of things that I can do to catch up, literally sort of pull out anything that's had it really. So I'll be hopefully doing that at some stage. And yeah, it has been pretty cool with the temperatures, but yeah, I'm hoping to at least try and get out a bit if the weather allows. And yeah.
Well, that's been the problem. That's been the problem in the UK, hasn't it? It's been freezing.
Yeah, it either seems to be biting cold or incredibly wet, and usually I don't mind the rain, but a couple of times I have looked out and thought maybe not. So yeah, it has been a little bit interesting with the weather. We did have a little bit of hail, I think, a couple of days ago. So yeah, it's
right. Okay. So we're waiting for better weather. Can completely understand that. What about you, John? Been tempted or not?
Yeah, it's I've same story with me really. I mean, we've had all the geraniums in the kitchen for about a week actually, because of course they don't like the cold, do they? But yeah, it's been one of those. I think the main sort of gardening, if you can call it gardening, that we've been doing in my house is we've been bringing geraniums and things into the house that normally live in the garden. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're fingers crossed for better weather. And I mean, we had it here this afternoon. It's been so amazing to see a bit of sunshine. The kids are happy to go out. They're a bit like the cat I talk about, the cat that sits on a doorstep. Even the dogs in these last few weeks haven't been happy to go outside. But the kids have just ran straight outside on the trampoline. It's been absolutely beautiful here this afternoon. But that hasn't stopped me doing a little bit of indoor gardening and following the head gardener's advice. I'll come back to that in a little while because my attention has been drawn to the miracle of nature there. But let's get seasonal. Let's invite those questions from people watching. Do you have any questions for the head gardener and the Fresh Air team here? Do put them in the comments. Don't be shy. But seasonally, Lee, if you were out and about at the moment, what would you be doing and what would you be advising other people to do?
Well, here in Portugal, with the weather picking up so well, it's perfect timing for starting your seeds. To actually start getting the seeds in the trays and getting them in your little covered greenhouse or under a little bit of shelter still. But the days are going longer, the nighttime temperatures are coming up. So if I get my freedom tomorrow, on Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be starting my seeds. So there'll be a video coming up for that. Not direct sowing into the ground yet, just into trays to get them germinated.
Yeah.
And to get my my tomatoes started, my peppers started. So
and beans as well.
It's all going to get going.
Yeah. Because
peas and beans can start as well now. Yeah, I'll be getting as much in as possible over the next 2 weeks. I've been saying it since we started the podcast.
Yeah,
I said it the first podcast. It all starts in 2 or 3 weeks, and now is the time for the seeds to start coming in.
And you were set back a bit, weren't you? Talking of seeds, I've got a really great guest to announce. There's a really good seed company in Portugal called Living Seeds or Sementes Vivas, which are like biological and biodynamic. I don't know if you're into that as well, Lee, but there is a seed producer. The seeds have been in one of the big Portuguese supermarkets here, and they're €1 a packet or up to €50 a packet. They are these organic and biodynamic seeds, and the man behind the company, Misha. I dropped him a line saying, "Love your seeds. Our family buys them. Lovely to see him in the Pingadoso shop. Do you fancy coming on the show?" Yes, is the answer. So we're looking forward to either talking. Yeah, one Monday evening, or we'll get him on the morning show sometime, which will be fantastic. Our growing community is a little quiet tonight. Don't forget, you can ask questions directly of the head gardener, Mr. McGrady, here in the comments. So please do that. This little, the video you shared with us, growing garlic inside. If you missed. I am so impressed, Lee. Would you mind just running through that again for anyone who might have missed that from the Facebook group?
Well, I think you've skipped one of the stages.
What?
The most important stage is to get the garlic in the fridge for a few weeks beforehand. So take your clove, break it open, put the individual cloves of garlic into the fridge. Just let them chill for anything from 2 to 4, 5 weeks. It doesn't really matter. After the second week, they should be fine. Because we've missed out on the frost and the cold temperature, which gets them I can't explain it. It opens up the interior of the garlic clove, and it gets everything moving. It's all the liquids moving.
Okay.
So bang them in the fridge for a couple of weeks, and then, just as Carl has done there, into a glass, a little bit of water, put them on the windowsill. And it gives you the opportunity to get them really started before they go into the ground. So yeah, and they'll set roots within the week.
They have
10 days, the roots will start coming through. In a few days, you'll start to see the green shoots coming up at the top, and then they're ready for the ground.
Woo! And I noticed
vampires away, importantly.
I was going to say that, John. We haven't seen a single vampire in the house in this last week since I've had these out on the top of the fridge. It's been amazing. But my water's a bit cloudy, Doctor. Is that okay, or should I be refreshing that water every day?
You should really be refreshing it. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got mine on the windowsill, and I only put a very little bit in it, so I tend to not refresh mine. Just have to top it up. So you only need a little bit of water in the bottom just to keep the base wet.
Yeah.
But mine seems to evaporate, and I just top it up every couple of days. Keep an eye on them.
And so, despite my rather than green thumbs, I've got cack-handedness here. Despite not putting them in the fridge, despite waterlogging them with too much water, I've still got great roots and a green shoot appearing. So that's the forgiving nature of nature, isn't it?
And if you plant them, they will develop into a clove, but it won't be as big as if it's been through the fridge system. If it's gone through the refrigeration, they just do better. They do better because you're stimulating something inside the bulb, which gets it going.
Okay, all right. So remember to take your clothes off, and then
take your
put
clothes
them in
the fridge.
for 2 weeks. Okay. The problem is you've got to put them in an envelope or something, because otherwise somebody's going to, I mean, Mrs. M here would just chop them up and put them in something to eat, and I'll be set back again. But you got to make sure, do not eat these. Do not
upset with that. But
yeah.
I put mine in a little clear bag, and I leave it at the door of the fridge, so it's kept separate from the rest of the food. But you could put a sticker on it. You could put it in a jar. You could put it in a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not eat my garlic seedlings. Penalty of death. Okay. All right. So any other tips or hacks like that? Seasonal things that we should be aware of at this time of year? I mean, they're way behind us, aren't they? It sounds like it's perishing in the UK.
Well, I've been thinking about your finishing statements of last week about people with disabilities working in the garden. So I've done a lot of work in the UK with schools and with nursing homes. So I put my mind to work this week and tried to think of something more directly aimed at disabilities.
Cool.
So if I was disabled in the UK at this moment in time, my project this week would be to prepare or purchase a watering system. There's some really good ones on the market, and now would be the time to buy them because they would be cheaper. A simple watering system that connects to the outdoor tap, that you can run a small line through the garden. My thoughts for this were it would be better for disabled people to build either build the gardens in raised beds or in tubs and pots, so they're not bending down doing all the digging. And come the summertime, it's going to be a real challenge to water everything every day. Yeah. So as part of the planning and preparation, you should be prepared to get your watering system in, so then all you have to do is set a timer and forget about it.
Fantastic.
So that would be my seasonal advice for the moment, is think about your watering system. If you're in Portugal, you should already be working on that.
Yes.
But in the UK, you need to start thinking about it, looking at prices, and getting that in hand.
Yeah. So we're looking at the specifics of limited mobility in that instance there. Yeah, getting planting up off the ground, and then anticipate. I mean, because I think quite a lot of gardening is anticipation, isn't it? Which many gardeners don't. I never get that right. Like growing too much or growing the wrong things or whatever. But so a lot of it is good to have a strategic mind, and part of that obviously is your concern there, and really good advice to think now about the watering system rather than discovering later on that you've got these great big heavy watering cans to try and get to your plants that are in desperate need of water.
Yeah, and it's something that needs to be done every day during the summer heat.
Yes,
and
yes.
I imagine carrying a 5-litre watering can about back and forth from every plant, it's not an easy task, and it can be very off-putting. I find it difficult myself when you've got a big garden to maintain and water all the time. Those are the occasions when you don't feel like doing it. Having the watering system set up so you can just press a button or turn the tap on. It's got to be something I would seriously consider. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we've got a really good mate in the UK called Lenny McCoy. And he was experimenting with systems that even have probably humidity probes, and working with the Raspberry Pi device, the little very cheap budget computers that are then linked to some sort of solenoid or whatever, which turns the watering system on. So maybe it's a chance, because he was thinking about that. He was developing some sort of system like that last year or the year before. So it might be great to get him back on. So for people with limited mobility and so on, that would be a real godsend, that sort of thing. John, did you want to add something to that?
To be honest, I just had that same sort of thought. I like, we have someone who kind of knows specifically about that, like knows about what might be the best way to do that in an accessible way, and knows what charities or organizations might be the best ones to go to in terms of advice for that sort of thing. So maybe, and Lenny would probably know that or would know someone who does know that.
Yeah.
So maybe we could have 2 people on, possibly, if there's, if it's convenient for those people.
Yeah.
Well, we have a comment.
The other one, of course. Feel free to read out the comments, John. Sorry. Go on.
I did see one last year that was advertised on Amazon, and it was only £35. But that came with an app and was connected to your telephone, so you could actually start the watering system from inside your house.
Cool.
And the app gave you the predicted temperature for the day, and give you little prompts. I'll have to look it up and maybe post it on the group.
He's a gardener. He's going to dig it out.
I'll dig it up. I'll dig it up and post it on the group. Yeah.
Well, John's been a little bit slow on the joke front today. I don't know if you've got any up your sleeve there, John. It's a boa from Joel in the north of Portugal, in Porto. The other person we know, of course, is the wonderful fella who put us onto this little tip. In the UK, this is UK specific gardeners, people who might be thinking about getting involved with us, getting out and growing food, who haven't done it before, getting in the garden. There was this lovely a link for people who need technology. I'm just scrolling through our group now because we've had loads of postings on there. Thanks to you, Anna. You put some great questions up there. And we've also had this, where are we? From the Kintsugi Project. Yes, from the Kintsugi Project. Good news. Let's break down the digital divide. And they've put us in touch with people who are giving away technology. The Kintsugi Project is delighted to be partnering with the Online Centres Network to deliver a digital lifeline during these trying times. So whether it's about growing for you or not, or you just need to get a digital connection if you're stuck at home, this might be for you. If you or someone you know has a learning disability, we're offering a free tablet with preloaded credit for access to the internet. This is a great offer. We will walk you through the setup every step of the way. And should you have more complex accessibility needs, our partners in AbilityNet will help you adapt the technology for your benefit. The scheme will not cost you a penny. It's about meeting the demand for access to technology for people with learning difficulties and boosting connectivity, thus enriching their lives. The kits will include a tablet or computer device with internet access, a dongle and SIM card with 24 gigs of data, which will be valid for a year. That's fantastic. Any additional accessibility devices / software required to use said device, easy read, accessible instructions on setup, access to one-to-one support for setup and the use of the device. That's absolutely brilliant. That's Mansell, who's fantastic. Yeah, doesn't it just? That's Mansell at the Kintsugi Project, who we want to get on us anyway. It'll be great to have the family come on and talk about the Kintsugi project that they're involved in over there in Plymouth in the UK. So get in touch with us if you're interested in that, and I can put you in touch with that particular scheme. We do have another question here. Oh, this is great, from Garden State Gardener, who must have come to us via YouTube. Tell us more about yourself, Garden State Gardener. But I'm sure Lee's got a favourite tomato to grow.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
Go on.
Shall I go first?
Please.
Tumbling Toms.
Okay.
Tumbling Toms.
Because? I
used to grow, when I had my allotment, I would grow several different sorts of tomato just because I was keen. But my favourite was always at the end of my pea frame. So I used to do it with big stakes and big heavy timber. I would put hanging baskets. And in each hanging basket would be my tumbling toms. And when I took the kids to the allotment, they just used to devour them every time, straight off the stem.
Yeah.
So it was great to see them enjoying it and for them to be initiated into gardening really early on. So tumbling toms have remained my favourite, and I grow them every year. And I grow them now on my balcony. I had to have seed sent in from England last year, so I don't know how I'm going to manage this year.
All right. Well, you heard the call there. If you've got tumbling tom seeds that you can send to Lee, please do that. I don't know if you're deeply into the specialism of tomatoes enough, Anna and John, to have a favourite variety. Do you?
I'm not sure. I do remember my dad telling me it might have been possibly my dad, but it might have been Linden. I think I remember hearing about a type called Moonglow. I'm trying to remember what that one was like from the taste, but I do remember that one, and I remember being quite intrigued with the I was going to say slightly different flavours of the tomato as well. I haven't had so many of the green tomatoes, but I've sort of had the yellow ones, and I've been quite intrigued how sweeter they are compared to the red ones. And I was just thinking, is there anything in that changes the flavour? And yeah, I've just seen a whole load of different colours. I haven't tried them all, but yeah, I just didn't know there were so many varieties. And I always remember just even like with mushrooms as well, if I've got that right, sort of how they're sort of have like sort of meat in the make, even though they're a vegetable. I was sort of trying to get my head around that, unless it's a texture thing. But yeah, I've just been really intrigued with all the different varieties of fruit and veg, and yeah, I do spend quite a lot of time just even looking at seeds in places like Fermoys and garden centres in general, really, just wondering what they're like. I've never actually managed to get many to actually grow, so maybe I might do that in a year.
Oh, yes, that'd be brilliant, Anna. Yeah. Let's get some seeds sent over to you, because we were talking about that. We had a fantastic guest from the Azores, or the Azores, on the show last week on Thursday. Wonderful Carmen Souza, who's absolutely delighted to help us actually with a seed swapping idea. So I think we're going to get a little bit of a network going with that, and we will get you some stuff to grow at home. I'm with you, Lee, on the smaller tomatoes. It's mainly Mrs. M who does the sowing here, and I tend to go around, picking and grazing and quality control and cooking. But I do love it. And the thing about the little toms is that they seem to be endless, don't they? You think you've picked them all, a bit like strawberries, and then you have a little bit more of a forage, and you find twice as much again, lurking in the foliage and the undergrowth. And I think it's absolutely right what you say. If kids can find them and graze on them whilst they're out in the garden, it creates a really positive association with the garden. John, did you want to add anything about tomatoes?
Well, a couple of things. I do have a funny story. I think it was when we're growing strawberries one time in the garden. They kept disappearing, and we couldn't understand why. And then we found that the dog was actually eating them off the strawberry plant.
Really?
Yeah. Which was quite
a Labrador
funny.
or a retriever that would be doing that by any chance?
Labrador crossbreed, I think he was. The Labrador cross with, we weren't sure what, because he was for a rescue centre. But right. Yeah, but I did notice as well, someone on the I think it's the Facebook comments, they've asking about what would be a good for like growing a big beefy tomato for cooking.
Yeah, good question. I think we'll have to go to Lee for that, won't we? Yes. Can anyone recommend, as you say to John, a really nice big beefy tomato, the type you can make? My mouth's watering just reading this. The type you can make a meal out of with some mozzarella, salt, pepper. Yes, John too.
It's like the Homer Simpson impersonation.
So the beefy variety, Lee, what would that be? And then you see him in Portugal, don't you? Big fellas in Portugal.
It's exactly what it's called on the packet. It's called the beef tomato. If you can find it you can find it in Portugal. I grew it last year. But there is one called the beef tomato.
Yeah.
And they are fantastic for cooking.
Yeah.
And they are really rich. They break down really good. I think I might have the packet in my kitchen. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, of course. Look, the Garden State Gardener, who's in New Jersey in the States. Thanks for joining us, I really appreciate it. Says Smart Dog, the strawberry thief dog. I think it's a Labrador thing, John. They love their food, don't they?
I remember when my granny and grandpa had their dog. It was I think it was the third dog that I can remember them having. No longer with us, unfortunately. But I don't know what it was, but I do remember whenever we went over there for a Sunday lunch and there was broccoli. I always have these memories of the dog who was called Watty, and I think he was short for Watson. I think I didn't actually know, but he was a collie spaniel mix, and for some reason he absolutely loved the stem of broccoli, and quite often he'd just be given it and you just sort of see him running through the house out to the garden with a big stalk of broccoli to chew on. And I've never seen dogs so keen on vegetables before.
Amazing, like a vegan bone almost.
I think so, yes. It must have been a good one for chewing on, I guess. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Lee, did you find the pack?
The only packets I've got are for my tumblers, for my super sweet cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
And my tumbling toms from the UK.
Tumbling toms from the UK.
But what I will do, what I will do is when I get out and about, hopefully Wednesday, I'll post the images of the packet that I used last year, and I'm 100% sure they were actually called beef tomatoes.
Yes,
but I'll double check. I'll check and check again, and I'll post the image.
Yep, thanks, Lee. Appreciate that. And a name that's coming up from Garden State Gardener is Big Beef. That's probably a variety name. And Garden State Gardener loves growing tomatoes, love growing cherry tomatoes. And these are lovely names, aren't they? Sun Gold, Cherokee Purple, and Black Cherry. And this may well be Fiona actually who's joined us, who is now. Since last week, it's been a bit of it's not friction exactly, a bit of rivalry, a bit of friendly rivalry. We get no dig versus traditional allotment style. That this experiment might be going ahead. Go on, Lee. Sorry.
Me and Fiona having a little discussion about it. We're going to set aside a specific space of ground.
Yes.
We're going to grow similar, if not the same seeds.
Yeah.
But at the end of the year, we'll see who has the best crop.
Bring it on! Okay, fantastic.
So we're having a competition.
And what are you calling your particular kind of gardening? Traditional, okay. So, because that's an interesting word, isn't it? Because it's the no-dig permaculture people, or forest gardeners might say theirs is the traditional. But I get what you mean. Traditional allotment gardening versus the no-dig, head-to-head on a patch of ground near you soon. Looking forward to that. Cool, thanks. I think this might be Fiona. While we're on different tomatoes, what about the tiny, sweet yellow ones? Yeah, Anna, a fan there. Name, please, or the big purple coloured ones. Talking of big purple coloured things, Dan Hoare is here, everybody. It's a disaster, he says. Now, Dan is just, don't be concerned, everybody. It's just his catchphrase. If he were a comedian, he'd come on the stage and he'd go, "Oh, it's a disaster." And everyone would roll around laughing. Good evening to you, lovely Dan. Where have you been? So wonderful. We know and love Dan, don't we, John and Anna here? So great to see you in the comments there, Dan. Here we go. Another question from the south, from Tavira, Cabanas de Tavira, with Paul. Good evening to you, Paul. I loved your post that I saw earlier on today. I only have a small balcony here, but a garden will be so important for us when we achieve our next stage in Portugal. Tell us more, Paul. You know, what size of garden? Why do you want to expand, and what do you plan to do out there? Another great friend of the show, Thane Tierney here, as the late great Ogden Nash once wrote, broccoli, while not exocoli, is within an inch of being an itch of being spinach. I really messed that up, didn't I? That's obviously a beautiful line if read properly. Okay. Yeah. Yes, it is Fiona, I think. Me again. Sorry, I keep forgetting to approve my name. Don't worry, Fiona. We know it's you in there. And thank you for the Ogden quote, the Ogden Nash rhyming couplet there. Thane, much appreciated. Thanks for dropping in tonight. Yeah, it would be good to find out from Paul what your plans are, Paul. Although you can still achieve
Let's find out how big Paul's balcony is as well, because it's no excuse. He's got a balcony. He can grow vegetables. He's got a balcony. He can grow a tomato plant. He can grow a pepper plant. He's got no excuses.
Yeah. No excuses, and you can have prolific chili plants and tomato plants on a balcony, can't you? No excuse for a poor yield either.
Well, these super sweet 100s, the cherries I grew last year, I grew them on the balcony here, and they achieved 10 foot tall. They were touching my roof. I had to pick the tops off them.
Wow!
And we ate tomatoes off them from April, May, June, from June right through till October. So
Yeah.
there's no excuses. If you've got a balcony, you can have a tomato plant.
Yeah, Paul. Gauntlet thrown down on the balcony there. Okay, let's talk for a moment about the dark side of tomatoes, everybody. What do you do with the 10th bag of tomatoes that you can't possibly eat because you've now got too many tomatoes come late season? Lee, what are you? And Fiona will have something to say about this, I'm sure. I know Dan will as well from his gardening in the past, and I know Dan's mum, I think, is a bit of a gardener, and certainly a Mrs. Beaton around the kitchen, and she'll know something to do with excess tomatoes. What's your solution for excess tomato glut there, Lee?
There is no such thing as too many tomatoes.
Oh, controversial.
You can boil them up, put them in a jar. You're never buying sauce all winter.
Okay.
If you do it properly, you can put them in a jar, and that's your tomato sauce for your bolognese all winter, for your lasagnas.
I wonder what
you
you're
can
going to say.
Never have too many tomatoes.
Right.
Or if you don't want to boil them up and make sauces, give them to your neighbours. They'll appreciate them.
Yeah.
Soup and pizza as well.
All right. I'm wrong. I got it. I'm into that mindset, aren't I, of the just-in-time supermarket shop, aren't I? And when too much stuff comes in from the garden, the modern people who buy everything just in time from the shops can't cope with it, can they? And they've forgotten about these canning methods and freezing.
Yeah. The thing is, it's so simple. It's so simple. There's lots of YouTube videos. So I won't go into it because I'm not a cook. But it's simple. It's cheap. It's easy to do, and it'll save you a fortune over the winter period when you're eating bolognese on the cold nights.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's you're getting support. I'm getting embarrassed. True, there is in capital letters. There's no such thing as too many maters. From Victoria joining us this afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia. How are you doing, Victoria? Congratulations.
I like Victoria.
She's great, isn't she? She'll be. She's.
Well, she's telling you off.
Exactly. She's no stranger to a home truth when it comes to me. Absolutely. She tells it like it is. Plain speaking, straight talking American woman. Thank you. Fiona Worrell, believe it or not, I'm not meant to eat many tomatoes. The nightshade thing. And this is some people with a sensitivity in it with potatoes, tomatoes, and aubergines. I get horrible leg and foot cramp in bed if I do. Yep, I deal with the torture for fresh homegrown. Just don't bother with ready-made tomatoey pasta sauces, etc. Out of season to give myself a break. Well, fair enough. If it doesn't suit your constitution there, Fiona, you don't want to be doing that. So there might be too many tomatoes when it comes to Fiona. Go on, Lee.
I don't think people realise that they're in the same family as the nightshades. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And that would be. I mean, I suppose it's this sort of food intolerance thing, isn't it? It is for a lot of things, like wheat, for example. We're pretty much all intolerant to it, aren't we? It's just that some have a better way of dealing with it than others over centuries of adaptation, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing I'm intolerant to is sprouts. I just can't stand them. But apart from that, I eat everything else. All
right, we should go round. In a group here. So it's sprouts for Lee. I think they're a very beautiful thing. I had a little business for a little while selling organic vegetables, fruit and veg. And come Christmas, I used to sell the whole stalk. I was buying it from Riverford, fantastic company in the UK, and it's a very attractive thing that how the Brussels sprout grows, isn't it? And so I don't see why you don't see them in the shops more often on the whole stalk.
No,
but
John, can't stand
yes, okay. John, do you agree? What's the vegetable you will not put in your mouth?
Just trying to think now. I think it's more fruit for me. I'd probably banana. I cannot stand banana.
No.
But I'll have to get back to you on the fruit, on the vegetable front.
Okay.
Because I quite like veg, to be honest.
Me too.
Maybe no lettuce and cucumber. I don't like those very much.
Yeah, my good old mate Damien, he calls this cucumber the devil's fruit. I mean, some people have a very sort of visceral and awkward relationship with certain fruit and veg. Cucumber, I think, being one of them. And you know, they believe it not to have much value either nutritionally. Anna, what about you? Fruit and veg that you would be like this with?
I think as far as veg probably would go, I've still not been convinced about having one even in Christmas lunch, but sprouts, for as long as I can remember, have been the top of the dislike list. Broccoli used to be second, but it has changed a bit in the last couple of years. I don't seem to mind it as much as I used to. Lettuce. I'm one of those polite eaters. I think lettuce. If I had the option, I'll probably leave it, but I eat it anyway. And I think I like it more with lemon juice. I think, knowing it's quite a bitter kind of flavour. And I was going to say for some reason, probably because I can't even remember the last time I had something really hot and spicy, but things like chilies, too much heat. It doesn't, not in the side of that kind of way. Just it sort of literally disintegrates my tongue. I think the last time I experienced that, I had one of those inquisitive times. In fact, after my keyboard lesson once, and I just saw a whole load of spices on the spice rack. I don't know if wasabi are actually actual peas or if it's something else. And I was sort of thinking, what are these? My keyboard teacher handed one. Just sort of thought nothing about it. And I think if I was given the chance, I think I'd be herring around the kitchen with smoke coming out my ears because I suddenly realised how hot and spicy it was. And I was trying to just, "Can I have a drink? Can I have a drink? Can I have a drink?" So that was the real hot experience. So I've stayed well clear of wasabi peas ever since, and that was a good year plus ago. So yeah.
They clear the spices out. I think Lee might have something to say about wasabi. I mean, that's like horseradish root, isn't it?
I think so. In fact, I do remember a bit of a strange way to experience it, but you know, I had a well, I say I had a time. I had the time of, you know, the every flavour bean sweets, you know, like the Harry Potter sweets. The first time I realised I did not like horseradish was actually in the form of a sweet. So I've never had horseradish since. I think I've got my definite dislikes, and I do find it an interesting one actually with peas. Because I'm quite happy to just eat them in sort of like the normal form, sort of in the pods, all that sort of thing. But mushy peas, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But mushy peas, I mean, even with fish and chips, I just think, what on earth are they doing with fish and chips? But
Southerners.
Same here,
I
Adam.
think that's more of a texture thing.
I don't understand mushy peas at all.
Lee, listen to it.
It's like mashed potato. It just kind of, I don't know if it's a texture or a sensory thing for me. It just kind of reminds me of eating chewed up food.
Well, not a very strong endorsement.
We can't get mushy peas here in Portugal, and I'd kill for a tin of mushy peas at the moment.
Some good old northern comfort food. So if anyone can send,
we just can't get them here, can we?
Some nice processed marifats or something like that. They are sour, aren't they? I mean, to me, they're at that end of the spectrum with sprouts.
Just going back to the wasabi.
Yes.
I believe that most of the stuff that we buy in Europe is actually horseradish.
Yeah.
It's not actually the wasabi which they grow in China and Japan and in the Far East. I believe it's a fake, altered, peppered up version. But you both mentioned about lettuce, your dislike for lettuce. I'm going to challenge you this year then to grow a perpetual lettuce. It's very simple, very easy to do, grows really quickly, but you pick it when it's really small and it tastes so sweet. It's very nice.
Okay.
So you should try that this year. It's a great little green plant to grow. Very quick, very easy.
I think I do remember when I think it was actually one of the first sort of gardening containers I got. I think I actually remember getting some lettuce seeds, and I think they managed to get to about that kind of size, I think. But I can't remember the actual type of lettuce it was. But yes, I think that was actually a birthday present as well. So that was quite fun as a sort of starting out little growing project, but very easy.
It's amazing the comments that are coming. Thank you, Anna. Go on, Lee. Sorry.
The perpetual lettuce, you don't let it develop. You pull the leaves as they're growing. So you get a small plant that starts off with 4 or 5 leaves, and you pull half off every other day, and it just grows more and more and more. So it lasts you for the whole year, or for quite a long period. But it's a very different leaf to the supermarket lettuce.
So what are we talking about?
Sorry,
like
Carl.
a crunch. No, not at all. I just wanted to find out: is it a flat lettuce or a crunchy one, more like an iceberg, or is it a flat lettuce? What's the texture of it?
It's more of a flat lettuce.
Right. Okay.
It's just a very simple, plain lettuce leaf. There's no real crunch in it, unless you leave them to develop a bit longer. If you leave them to develop, they'll go into a crunchy leaf. But if you pick them really young, they're just very sweet and very tender.
So we've launched another thing today, Lee's Lettuce Challenge for Anna and John. I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
I will definitely be growing some this year. I grow lettuce every year. It's a staple. It's fantastic.
Get on. All right, fantastic. I survived V-Day, the vaccination. I think she's saying this, unless that's Victoria Day. I don't know what that is. That's probably his vaccination day. Dragging me knuckles today. She says in jest, folks. Can't wait to do a container garden on my Portuguese balcony. Fingers crossed. We're looking forward to you being in this country, Victoria. Here we go. Paul rising to the balcony challenge. It's pretty small and with sun chairs and litres flowers and an old aircon unit. Not a lot of room. Plus, we're only here from October. He's making excuses, isn't he, Lee? Need our next stage.
Sounds like it to me.
Need our next stage of 1,000 square meters. No sprouts for me there. They're not popular. However, Fiona loves them and she will have your portion. She says somewhere in the comments here. I'm not a fan of aubergines, eggplants. Still grow them to give away. And that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Growing things anyway, even if you don't like them. So you can share and trade. Hated courgettes till own grown too. Love those. Now, that's an interesting point, Fiona. Things that you didn't like until you grew them yourself. People will have examples of that, I'm sure. Banana is just a base for smoothie of everything else you love. Can you eat bananas all right in a smoothie, John?
No, I think I can't deal with the smell of it.
Oh, I say, right, and it is a very particular smell, isn't it?
I can't cope with that, so I can't really eat it or drink it in any way, really. It's just because the smell is just, I can't.
Fair enough. Any sprouts people don't want, Fiona will take them. She loves them, and she will eat all of ours. I believe you would love a chili in a cocktail called the Mexico City Ice Pick. It's wicked good. There's another thing to put on the list of things to try around the world. Good evening from Marcos. Oh, God, I hate peas. It's the texture. Probably the only veg that revolts me, lol. When you get here, Victoria, we will meet and we will probably have a traditional fish and chips evening. We won't do that too often, but we will do it to see if we can change your mind about peas, particularly in the mushy form, as served by Chef McGrady on that evening. Perpetual lettuce is similar to little gem lettuce, sweet and crispy. So there you go. That's all part of the challenge there. Minute to go. Do we want to make any predictions or commitments for the coming week? I know for you, Lee, it's just to have a successful test tomorrow in it and get back out there.
No, I'm going to be fine tomorrow, and I'm going to be out on Wednesday, and on Thursday I'll be doing seeds. I'm absolutely positive. Yeah, and I'll post a video to prove it.
Yeah, and that's the only kind of positive you're going to be, is positive to be out there.
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah. John, what about you for the next week? Anything you want to take on? Not compulsory, but if you want to set yourself a little bit of a target, fair play.
I quite like to start posting maybe a photo or two on the Facebook page, because I keep needing to post a photo of our compost heap, but then I keep forgetting for some reason, because I know I posted that poll, didn't I, a couple of weeks ago about what's the best way of getting rid of garden rubbish.
Yes.
And interestingly, no one's voted for the council yet, which I think is fairly condemning of the councils around the world. But yeah, anyway.
I'm definitely interested in your compost heap, so I'd love to see a picture of that. I was going to ask people about composting because it's obviously a subject we'll come back to at some point. Maybe it's later on in the year after everything starts rotting down again. Lee?
Just again, my thoughts on composting for disabilities. The tumbler I have in my garden. We'll talk about it another time, and I'll dig some information about it because they're perfect. They're perfect for disabilities, for elderly people. There's no digging with them. There's no turning over. Dead easy to use and a dead quick result. So the next time we talk about composters, we'll bring it up then.
It'll be in a spin. Anna, any commitment from you from the next 7 days, or any targets you want to set for yourself?
I've been partly Lyndon suggested this one on Friday. He sort of suggested just going out and just seeing what the garden's doing and just sort of just enjoying everything that's going on. I know it's technically the quiet time of the year at the moment, so spring hasn't sort of come into full force yet, but just sort of going out and just seeing what's going. And yes, I have seen a few trees that have started growing where they're probably best not growing, but I've probably left it a bit too late to get rid of them. But yeah, so yes, that'll be one thing for me to check up on. I think just seeing how it's doing and just taking out anything that shouldn't be there.
Terrific. I think the phrase you used earlier on was pull it out if it's had it.
I think so, yes. Pretty much, yep.
That was a pretty good guide to tidy the garden. So that's superb. I'm going to get the shoes that I showed on screen last week, the discovery that I'd made in Portugal. They're still in a basket in the kitchen, throwing out their tendrils. They're so hardy. They haven't had any water. They're just picking up the moisture from the air. I'm going to get those in some soil because those guys deserve it. They have tried so hard to survive, and they're throwing out these feelers. So I'm going to get them in the ground before next week. I'm delighted with this as well, Lee. I know what to do with terms of watering. It'd probably be too soon to put those in soil, but just getting ready, girding my loins for getting in the garden more, and looking forward to being back next week, talking more and taking questions and chatting. It's so lovely to have this community around the world, each with a little bit of an interest in gardening from a different angle. Lovely to have the company of the Garden State Gardener from New Jersey, a new face. Thank you very much for popping in. I lived in London for 3 months. I lived in London 3 months. 2 years ago. Okay, we'll take a very special pee and a lot of convincing to get me to like them. Challenges on there. You got a lot of challenges on your hands here, Lee. Hoping to rescue my herb bed and find a way to keep new geese from stomping over it, and getting some seeds going in the mini temporary polytunnel I've thrown together. Nice one, Fiona. Nice to have a bit of a goal for the week. And thanks all. Happy planting from Paul, who might be convinced to put a tomato plant or a pepper plant on his balcony there. We don't know. We'll see if he joins us again next week. As I hope you all will. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you, Lee.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
All right. Ciao, ciao. And bye for now.
See you soon.